Whether it's a late-night emergency trip to the veterinarian or springing for premium wet food, a lot of pet owners would do just about anything for their animals. But when Akia Mosley's ex-boyfriend abandoned her Pitbull mix, Zimba, over 1,000 miles away, her hands were tied. With a full-time job and kids to take care of, she didn't have the time or the resources to make the 4-day road trip necessary to retrieve her beloved pooch. Luckily, someone far, far away understood just how much Akia's dog meant to her and decided to do something incredible to help. Out in Wichita, Kansas, Akia Mosley lived with her kids and an 8-year-old Pitbull mix named Zimba. She had a boyfriend too, and when he took a trip to Maryland, he asked if Akia's dog could accompany him on the long, lonely drive. Ah, but love is a fickle thing, or so they say. As the relationship took a nosedive, Akia and her boyfriend broke up, making an already emotional moment worse. Her ex-boyfriend was in the middle of his road trip when the split happened. The spurned lover abandoned Zimba 1,000 miles out from Wichita. Akia called her ex to try to locate her dog. Again and again, the man ignored her calls. Months passed, and it seemed Akia would never find her poor pooch again. But animals have a way of bringing out the best in people, and Akia saw that firsthand. Meanwhile, in Ridgely, Maryland, someone spotted Zimba wandering the streets. He was alone and he seemed lost. The person alerted animal control, and an agent named Caitlin Knopfsinger scooped him up and took him to a nearby humane society. As it turned out, his wild ride was just beginning. Finally, there was some good news in this whole mess. Thanks to some smart planning, Akia had microchipped her pooch years before, so the Humane Society had all the information needed to contact her. But there was still one major problem. Zimba was still 1,000 miles away. It might have seemed like an easy trip for a dog lover, but with a full-time job and a couple of kids to care for, Zimba might as well have been on another planet. Ultimately, Akia didn't have the time or resources to reach her beloved dog. Still, the folks at the Carolina County Humane Society weren't about to twiddle their thumbs. First, they contacted airlines that might give Zimba a ride, but none would do so. Then, they called the Humane Society in Wichita. They too had no answers. All proposed solutions fell through, and eventually, the Humane Society was back to square one. Meanwhile, Animal Control Officer Caitlin Knopfsinger, the woman who had first picked up Zimba, was keeping her boyfriend, Zach Holt, up to date on all the ongoing drama. As a dog lover and former animal control employee, Zach was particularly affected by Akia and Zimba's story. In his eyes, life without his own dog and cat would have been unbearable, so he could only imagine Akia's plight. As Zach told the local CBS affiliate, WJZ-TV, referring to his own dog, "I can't imagine my right-hand man being gone that long." Indeed, the man loved his pets, and that sentiment got him thinking. What could he do to help his fellow pet owner? Zach quickly had his answer. "I'm a bartender," he told WJZ-TV. "I strictly work, the weekends and Monday, and I have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off, and 4 days is plenty of time to get to Kansas and back. So I said, why not?" What did Zach charge for such a trip? Nothing. Nada. $0. Out of an understanding of Akia's love for her dog, Zach simply said he would make the 4-day, 1,300-mile drive for free. Nonetheless, the Humane Society made a contribution. Zach is doing this strictly as a volunteer, asking for nothing, a Humane Society employee wrote. However, we are incredibly grateful and need to try to raise money to cover his gas, tolls, and other expenses incurred. After all, driving ain't free. So on December 5th, 2017, Zach loaded Zimba into his car and the two were off. For most of the trip, Zimba simply slept. Maybe Zach didn't have the pup's favorite song on his road trip playlist. For a total of 20 hours, Zach, along with this dog he never met before the trip, cruised down the highway en route to Wichita. Meanwhile, back in Kansas, Akia anxiously waited the return of her dog. It was a wet night when Zach finally pulled up outside Akia's house. The long-lost dog made a happy beeline across the yard toward his owner, who dropped to her knees to greet him. Just like that, they were reunited. And Zach? Well, he had some amazing thoughts about it all. If people just try, Zach explained to KWCH News, that'll make a difference. I guess that's one of the messages. Just try. All I had to do was sacrifice a little bit of time to get him back here. It's more than worth it, Zach continued. It's very fulfilling. Still, it took something extraordinary to inspire someone to drive 1,300 miles and back for a complete stranger. That's something? Understanding the love for animals. With Zach still on her front lawn, Akia held back tears as she gave Zimba much needed affection. I'm very, very thankful, she told KWCH News. I'm like speechless because I really can't believe he drove all the way here. If you think about your own pets and how much you love them, you wouldn't second guess why Zach did what he did. It's easy to see why he felt compelled to reunite a family with their dog. And thank goodness that he did. For some people, it might be tough to drive even 15 minutes to return a stranger's dog, let alone 20 hours over several days. No doubt, Zach's efforts were an incredible, generous feat.